Hey, everybody, how you doing? Well, that's good. Welcome to PHLY Flyers postgame, presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. My name is Bill Matz. I'm your director of fun and games. This is Broad Street Hockey's own Kelly Hinkle. Hell of an effort out of the boys tonight,
Kelly.
Kelly.
Right, there was a hockey game.
Flyers, we're going to, in case you're wondering, we're going to talk all about the Kuzmenko, Frost, maybe Farabee, Jacob Peltier, whatever the hell's going on with Calgary.
Your mom.
That's gonna be the crux of this show. We are gonna talk a little about the game first. We will get to the trade rumor stuff shortly, and if there's any breaking news during the show, of course, we will be talking to you about it. But to lead it off, Flyers shut out in back-to-back games. Hinkle, Scott Laughton got that empty net goal with about 15 seconds left against the Devils on Monday.
Yeah.
But the Flyers have not scored a goal against a goalie in almost 160 minutes. Garnett Hathaway scored less than 3 minutes into the second period on Monday, and that's the last time Philly scored against a minded net.
But the good news is Matvei Michkov learned a lesson tonight.
Yeah, he sure did. Matvei Michkov, it sure looked like he broke this goalless drought early in the first period. But it was called back. A power play goal by Michkov.
Nonsense.
Called back on a goalie interference challenge. There might have been some light contact between Morgan Frost, and maybe that's why he's on his way out, between Morgan Frost and Ilya Sorokin that caused the goal for some reason. Maybe there was a little bit of a brush.
A light brushing with his butt.
In absolutely no
out
way.
Of the crease.
In no way was Sorokin impeded from making the stop.
Not even a little bit.
At all. The angle of his arm never changed. He reacted late because he was screened, and then he cried about it. That's what happened. But it stands that the Flyers did not score a goal in this one, as they did not just 24 hours ago, and they haven't scored against a goalie since the first 3 minutes of the second period on Monday. That's not great, Hinkle.
No, it's not.
The offense really struggling. And it's a shame because, Fedotov wasn't terrible tonight. He gives up 3. Who cares? But we need to talk about the Matvei Michkov thing. Now, I got into a whole argument on Twitter about the way he's being used right now.
Yeah.
This is going to sound as if I'm flip-flopping. I'm not, because these are two different things. Managing his minutes because of his admitted low energy level. Well, they were using him 17, 18 minutes start the season, 16 minimum. 27 points in the first 27 games. And we've talked about this condensed schedule. He is really struggling with having a consistent energy level on a night-in, night-out basis as he adapts from a not very physical at all league in the KHL while being a 19/20-year-old non-English speaking immigrant with an insane head coach. We'll get to that. It's been tough. And they're managing his minutes. He's been playing 13, 14, maybe 15 minutes a night for the last month or two. And a lot of people are upset about that. But I think when the coach and the player and the whole organization are saying, yeah, man, he's gassed, I can understand it. You're getting him in the lineup every night. You're not benching. You're not sitting him, scratching him, especially in home games. Well, tonight, it doesn't play final 30 minutes. But that I can accept because there's a reason for it.
Yep.
It's understandable. Okay, we want him in the lineup so he plays as many games as possible, but in those games, we will see what his energy level is at, and if we don't think he has it, he might only play 11, 12, 13, 14 minutes rather than the 20 everyone wants him to play. Understandable. Tonight, though, he makes I guess you call it defensive gaffe, after also making good defensive plays throughout this game. Makes a defensive gaffe in the zone. Couturier blocks a shot up high. Michkov, as he is wont to do sometimes, kind of takes off a little, leaves his man in hopes that the loose puck turns into an odd man rush breakaway situation for him. It doesn't. The puck bounces to his man, what should have been his man, and that is who ends up creating or scoring. I don't even remember exactly what happened, but that's how it went down.
Yep.
He comes back to the bench. We see on the broadcast a heated exchange. Tort's giving it to him a little bit. Him kind of showing like it really looked like I came out here because he was there and whatever it was, a heated exchange. Michkov doesn't play the final 30 minutes of the game, including a 4-on-4 with about 12 minutes left and a power play with about 7.5 minutes left. Situations where you can go, even if you're upset with him, go, well, we're still trying to win this game. Also, Owen Tippett is out hurt. There's a goal-scoring threat. Morgan Frost has been pulled, we think, because of trade rumors. We'll get to that shortly. But Morgan Frost has been pulled. We are real short on guys. I think there's something somewhat at least the matter with Travis Konechny. It's why he only has 1 goal in his last 11 or 12 games. He's picking up assists, but not shooting.
Yeah.
You're a real low on offensive threats.
Yeah.
So why not just concede this game, Hinkle? It's the back end of a back-to-back as well, and you're going with 10 forwards. By choice. Why not just go, you know what, let's leave the ice. You can just... I realize that you can't do that, but that's essentially what they did by shortening the bench in this situation.
There's not a good reason to do this. Like, you could yell at him. You could show him what he did on tape during intermission and yell at him some more. You could keep him on the bench for that final 9 of the second period.
Yeah. Bring him back for the third. Say fresh slate. Go win us the game.
The entire second half of the game seems a little bit ridiculous. And this is just, Charlie's probably going to tell me I'm stupid again. But I
don't accept that.
This is, you can't tell me that this doesn't affect Michkov in some way. Like, confidence-wise, maybe. The fun that he's having in Philadelphia, his want to play here, his enthusiasm for being on this team and being a part of this franchise. Like, eventually, because not the first time we've seen him do this, to Michkov specifically, eventually this has to wear on a dude, especially a guy like Michkov, who's obviously very prideful and obviously got a bit of an ego on him because he's real good at ice hockey. So, like, I don't understand the point of this. And Charlie, well, they think it's teaching him. Okay, but that's not real. Like, that's a made-up thing.
I just think, like, he makes a great defensive play to spring an odd man rush in which Sean Couturier got a scoring chance earlier, I believe in the same period. Like, he has actually been playing, especially what we think, like, based on expectations defensively. He has been playing well above what I expect from him, especially for this point in his career. We're 50 games into his career. If it's like one mistake equals 30 minutes, like, how come? And again, I'm all for managing the minutes if you don't think but like last game, last night, engaged, making good plays, both ends of the ice. I thought he was one of their better players in the first 40 minutes. How come that doesn't equal more ice time?
Right.
Like, how I just don't really understand. And John Tortorella doesn't care if I don't understand the application.
No, and he's never going to explain it to anyone.
Yeah, totally. And that's John Tortorella's prerogative. Dude's going to the Hall of Fame. He coached his 1600th game tonight.
And what a banger.
I'm not trying to say John Tortorella's a bad coach. I think a lot of what he does is good.
Yes.
But in this situation, like, we talked about this in pregame. This team makes a lot of decisions that you scratch your head and go, all right, but if we're rebuilding, does that make sense? Like, they make a lot of decisions that, like, well, in this game, we know that the players on the ice and the coach behind the bench are going to try to win it. And while it's not the organization up top stated goal of making the playoffs, obviously it's the players and coaches' goal to make the playoffs. The Islanders are a team that is now ahead of you by points percentage and total points. This is a game that was very, very important. If you want to teach them a lesson in the second period, even parts of the third, but when you have those power plays, when you have a 4-on-4, open ice, offensive zone, this is where this guy can win you a game. Evidenced by the fact that, no, it didn't count, but he's the only one who put a puck behind the goalie in the last 157 minutes of game time. I'm not out on John Tortorella. Again, I think he's a really good teacher. I think he does a lot for a lot of these players and getting them to play their best more times than not, play above themselves, honestly, more times than not, is very important. But I just fail to see the logic in this tonight.
And we've talked over the course of the last 10 years that we've been doing this a million times about the fact that good players that take chances are going to make more glaring errors than guys who just play a safe game. In doing what you did tonight, you're telling Matvei Michkov, don't take chances. I don't want you to take chances. I want you to play a safe game.
That's the other part of this.
That's not what he's here for.
This thing specifically, where it looks like a shot was blocked, a puck is loose. Yeah, I guess you want to see him standing there in battle, but it's not as if Sean Couturier wasn't in the area still. You want to see him standing there in battle, okay. But last season, when asked about why he opened up the offense to be a lot more odd man rush based, part of it is like, yeah, man, well, we couldn't cycle to save our lives last year, so I'm going to try something else.
Yeah.
But it's where we got the nickname Mad Russian. It's why we made the shirts and hoodies. Like, oh, well, we got this guy coming over, the Mad Russian. It was very funny. The coach forgot his name.
Yeah.
We have him coming over, and we want to take advantage of what he does. Well, guess what? It's a risk. And I understand the idea of, well, if you're going to take risks, it better work. But it's not going to be 100%.
Every time.
It can't possibly be 100%. If he takes off because he thinks he can score a goal for you, that's just something you have to live with sometimes. And I get they're trying to drill in him, play the right way and everything, but I've seen him make mistakes this year, and I've seen him make decisions this year that I'm like, yeah, I don't think so. This was not one of them. This was one of them that I go, this is kind of how we generate offense, is guys leaving the zone, hoping that that loose puck gets turned into an outlet. And he sits for 30 minutes because of it. All right, we're going to get back to this, and we're certainly going to talk about the trade rumors. Charlie will be joining us when all is wrapped up at the Wells Fargo Center. But now I got to tell you about TrueMark Financial Credit Union. Did all that holiday shopping leave you with a credit card balance that's weighing you down? Well, now think about this. It's pretty good stuff here. What if you could pay it off faster and with zero interest until 2026? Well, you can, because TrueMark Financial is offering zero interest on balance transfers for 12 months, so all your payments can go towards reducing your balance, not just covering interest. Here's what you got to do. Transfer your existing credit card balance to another institution, from another institution to a TrueMark Financial Visa credit card, and take advantage of this amazing offer. But hurry up. You only have until the end of February. Today's January 30th. This offer applies only up until February 28th. You have a month, so get on it now. Whether you're interested in earning rewards, cash back, or simply just prefer a low rate for everyday purchases, with TrueMark Financial, you can choose the credit card that best fits your financial needs. Visit TrueMark.com/compare for full details and apply today. TrueMark Financial, federally insured by the NCUA, an equal opportunity lender. Terms and conditions apply. All loans subject to approval. 3% balance transfer fee applies. Standard rates apply after the promotional rate. And while we're here, I got to tell you about my friends at Game Time. That's right, the absolute best secondary ticket marketplace on the whole internet. Thanks in large part to one of their newest features, Game Time Picks. It filters out the fluff so you only find incredible deals on the best seats. But all those other features that made Game Time great, they're still around too. The all-in pricing, so there's no surprises on what you pay when you get to checkout. The seat views when you get to the venue, no surprises there either. You know where you'll be sitting. Plus the low price guarantee and the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code PHLY for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Well, it certainly wasn't game time for Matvei Michkov, at least after the midpoint of the second period. And I'm very frustrated right now.
Yeah.
But I'm just hoping they get Mish through these next couple of games to Four Nations. He gets the break. And then for the last few months of the season, last month and a half, whatever it is, we see him playing the amount of ice time we'd like to see him play. Whether
great.
that's 14 minutes, whether that's 18 minutes, whether that's 22 minutes, I want to see him succeed. But if he's playing well, I want to see it stacked up. I want to see them put more on his plate. They've done a good job of managing him to this point, but now it's very frustrating. If you're going to limit his minutes, okay, but then bench him for a whole what are we doing?
Half of an entire game.
Not to mention, you're telling me we're not tanking so that we can play in meaningful games. Who are these guys playing in meaningful games? Rasmus Ristolainen, 30 years old, never been in the playoffs. Scott Laughton. Who are the players playing in these meetings? Owen Tippett's out. Morgan Frost is out. Who are we grooming here? Who are the guys? That part is very frustrating to me. Do we have anything else on this?
I hated this game.
I really hated this game. If not, thank God for the trade rumors.
I never want to see the Islanders again.
We have to do 60 minutes and we're 16 in, and I'm
God.
all right, well, yep, it was Michkov getting benched. That's the story of the entire game. I guess we can talk about Fedotov real quick. His final line, he stops 25 of 28 for an .893. That's basically all we can expect from the backup.
Charlie just tweeted a thing.
Okay.
Torch is saying Frost didn't feel good. I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead.
I can't. I thought it was
focus.
Frost didn't feel good. There was that point earlier before he comes out of the game where I don't honestly care about Fedotov. We can do that another day.
Sorry.
There was a point earlier in the game where Frost leaves and comes back shortly, and they're maybe it was an equipment issue or something.
Yeah.
But then he's gone again and doesn't come back. Someone is reporting, I think it's ASF, is saying on his show, Frost thing more potentially injury-ish related. I saw something about maybe Farabee. Let's talk about this. So I think it's Elliot Friedman who went first tonight. And we have the rumor of a Kuzmenko deal. Yeah, Elliot Friedman at 9:22 tonight tweets, Philadelphia and Calgary are discussing an Andrei Kuzmenko deal. Kuzmenko held out of Flames lineup tonight. And, of course, Flyers are playing.
Right.
And, this is around the time that we didn't see Morgan Frost again.
Yes.
So, obviously, people start connecting dots. But there are other reports, like this one here, I believe, from Frank Saravalli. Yeah, sources say Flyers and Flames are working on a trade involving forward Andrei Kuzmenko. Deal has not yet been agreed upon, but progress to a point where Kuzmenko has been pulled out of the Calgary lineup. I thought I had another one. Maybe not. Is it the Kurz one? No, there was another one in there that was kind of trade involves players who are still involved in an ongoing game.
Yeah.
And it's well, they pulled Kuzmenko, and it looks like Morgan Frost has been pulled from the game. Maybe there's a third team involved or something, but it could very well be the Calgary game at that point, I think, was in the first or second period. Maybe there's other moving pieces to this. And the Flyers, listen, they're already short Frost. If it's not him in the trade, he's not feeling well, injured, whatever it is. Tippett's hurt, and Michkov is benched. So they kind of can't pull anyone for the trade if that's what's going on. So what the hell could this be? That's my main question here. What the hell could this be?
Start at the beginning. What problem that the Flyers currently have, and there are so many, does Andrei Kuzmenko solve? What problem does he solve? Because he's old. I'm 28.
He turns 29
winger.
In a week.
He's a winger. He's essentially a rental because he's on an expiring contract. I just don't okay. Let's say it's Frost. Are you so desperate to get rid of Morgan Frost, who has been mostly fine? Has he been good? No.
Whatever.
Has he been disappointing? Yeah, as usual. But he's not a detriment to the team. So you're so desperate to get rid of Morgan Frost that you're trading him for a guy that solves zero problems, and you're subtracting a center of which we have pretty much zero. if this is the trade, I got a lot of questions because I don't know what it's for. What happens now?
If it's literally, and there's like reports like other moving pieces, other guys involved, maybe a third team involved. We're short on details right now. Listen, this is why you need to be subscribed to our YouTube page. If this goes through during our show tonight, we'll absolutely break it. If not, I will be joining us. I don't know if it'll be live or I'll record something and send it to Bryn and we'll put it up. But whatever it is, we'll have a basically instantaneous reaction at some point whenever this goes through. But that's why you got to be following us. But if it is this, let's say it's Kuzmenko for Frost. That makes very little sense. Like, that can't possibly be it.
No, and if it's Farabee for this guy, again, like, what is that? Are we just doing now a change of scenery?
That I could see in order to open up cap space. Kuzmenko, they make about the same. Kuzmenko's at 5.5, and Farabee is at, I think, 5 even. And Kuzmenko's a pending free agent.
Yeah.
So his contract would expire. Farabee still has a few more years left. So you clear about $5 million. That would make a little bit of sense, but I just don't see how it, other than Kuzmenko being a buddy for Matvei Michkov, because they did play together, as Jeff Marek pointed out. They did play together in 21-22 for St. Petersburg. Michkov, I believe that's his first year in the KHL. He plays about 13 games with SKA that year, and it's Kuzmenko's final year with St. Petersburg before he comes over to North America, and he led the team in scoring that year. So they at least know each other somewhat. They're fellow countrymen. I suppose.
Briere sees the benching and he's like, oh God, I got to do something so this guy doesn't stay mad.
Yeah, honestly, like I was like, did they just come up with this the minute they benched Michkov? Like, we need someone to help him out. Like, because Yegor Zamula has been out of the lineup. He's been hurt.
Okay, so Drager is confirming that Frost is part of a trade to Calgary.
Drager is confirming it has something to do with...
Saravalli is saying we're trading both Farabee and Frost.
Farabee and Frost. It can't possibly just be Kuzmenko.
So we got Jacob Peltier.
He's one of the rumored names.
One of the rumored names. Which is a little bit more interesting because he's young, at least. It's my understanding, based on my Flames insider friend, Mark Parkinson, that
26th overall in 2019, so he's not yet
hurt his shoulder a couple of years ago.
Not yet 24 years old.
Went to the AHL. He's been up this year, been healthy, tons of energy, fun player to watch. These are all the things I'm hearing from a Flames guy. So that's cool. But also, I just don't understand the point of it. Like, I don't understand how this makes, like, when I look at a trade, I want it to make the Flyers better in some way, like better as far as like positioning down in the future. Like, the cap dump thing, I guess, makes a little bit of sense. If you're getting some picks back, okay, maybe there's something there. Maybe you're doing some, I don't know.
If this is just selling off pieces, I'd like a better return. But I will say, I'm not, if it's Frost and Farabee and we're getting like an expiring contract back and like a young guy, we'll see how it goes. Like, because between the two dudes who are rumored, Jacob Peltier and Andrei Kuzmenko, Kuzmenko has taken 1 face-off this year, and Peltier has taken 12.
They're not
So they
centers.
are not centers.
And also, I'm fairly sure both of them have fewer points than Frost and Farabee.
Yeah.
So, like,
Kuzmenko had a really good start to his career. So that final year in the KHL, he leads SKA in scoring. He has like 53 points in 45 games or something. He comes over in 22-23 and puts up 74 points in 81 games for Vancouver. Hell of a season. Then he has a slower start the next year for Vancouver, gets traded to Calgary, where he kind of picked it back up. 25 points in the last 29 games for Calgary. But this year, 15 points in 37 games. He has fallen off a bit in terms of production, while the Flames are having a surprisingly good season. So they're thinking, okay, let's see if we can bring in a couple of guys who could maybe juice our offense a bit, juice our second, third line a bit. I can see it for them. If this is, I'm hoping it is the precursor to a bigger move for the Flyers. This is step one.
I need something else.
Like maybe this becomes a 3-teamer, or maybe in a couple of days. Listen, I don't want to get my hopes up about something ridiculous like Elias Pettersson, like we talked about last night, but that would be really fun.
I would like that more than this.
But if this is simply dumping a couple of guys who I have said for a few weeks now, like, I'm done with this, time to look at someone else. If this is a way to get like Samu Tuomala in the lineup every night, cool. I'm fine with that.
I guess
I wish the return was better. I want to see what else they're getting.
I guess I just always assumed that if we were getting rid of these two guys, that it would be for something.
The problem
that I wanted.
This is what the long and listen, I understand partially why they needed, I suppose, this longer evaluation process. But now you've finally maybe made your mind up about these guys, and Joel Farabee has 19 points in 50 games, and Frost is at what? Morgan Frost is at 25 points in 49 games. You're selling them low. And that's just my take right now. We have no idea what this actually is yet, and maybe Charlie will have a better idea when he joins us. But I like that they're doing something. Honestly, I can't sit here and yell, do something, and then when they do something, pick it apart. I mean, I will, but
I was going to say, of course you can.
Yeah, of course I can. I can do whatever the hell I want. It's my show. But it's really British show. But
I didn't want them to just do something. I wanted them to do something that I personally enjoy.
Yeah,
and
I want them to do something like get Elias Pettersson. That would be cool. But I do think, like, one of my major complaints about this thing, like, Frost is due a contract extension. We already know about Farabee. He's signed up for a few years. Where are these supposedly great players that we're going to acquire? You know, again, step 2, question mark, step 3, profit. But these supposedly great players that at some point Danny Briere is going to bring us to play with Michkov, where exactly do they fit in the lineup if you keep extending all these guys? Like, so if this is to clear space, and you bring in a Russian buddy for Mish, that's cool. It's for something.
Like a couple of months, I guess?
For a few months to get him through.
You better not be planning on bringing this dude back.
Depends on what he does. I mean, no, he turns 29, I think, in February 4th, Andrei Kuzmenko.
Yeah.
So maybe it doesn't make the most sense to sign him. I mean, like, if it's league minimum or what.
Yeah, if he wants to do like a Joe Thornton 1 year, like the 40-year-old contract.
What does that make sense for him? Like, why not just go back? Why not just go back to the KHL and make a bunch of money?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, okay, you're right. I'm trying to think of a scenario in which it makes sense to keep Kuzmenko, and the answer is it doesn't. Who knows? Maybe they flip him. Like, maybe he goes somewhere else at the freaking deadline. Like, we still have, what's the deadline? March 7th? Like, we still have over a month before it gets here.
Things could happen.
I am excited to see how this turns out, because there's so many moving pieces. It's been a while since we've been a part of something like this. Somehow this comes up every show I say it's been a while.
I know. I can't help it. It's a nervous tick at this point. I want to give Briere the benefit of I'm not going to make a judgment. I'm trying not to make a judgment based on things that I don't know. And I will perhaps try to reserve all judgment until the trade deadline, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that much.
And here's the thing about it for Calgary. Like, at first I thought, okay, they're going to try to dump some salary so they can add, right? Add at the deadline. You still have a month to maybe make a major addition. But they already have, like, their deadline cap space is like $17 million.
Calgary has billions of dollars in cap space.
They have so much cap space.
They did not need to dump anything.
Kuzmenko is their third highest paid forward, $5.5 million, expires after this year. And where are you at, Peltier? So he's only at $800K, and he's a restricted free agent after this year. So you might be able to hang on to him. I mean, like, he's still under team control if you do end up trading for him, and that's the Where'd it go now? Yeah, Bleacher Report Open Ice has Flyers and Flames working on a trade that will send Kuzmenko and Peltier to Philly and send Morgan Frost and Joel Farabee to Calgary. So that's where we're at right now.
And Kevin Kurz is saying it's just a 2-team trade. Like, this is the trade. It's those 2 dudes for these 2 dudes. The trade is 2 for 2.
Elliot Friedman says Joel Farabee is going to Calgary. Like, that's the...
Can we just for a moment mourn the loss of the Dojol Kaza house?
That's, this is interesting. I hadn't considered the...
He's a culture guy. He's a locker room guy.
There are a ton of people, and I wouldn't say I'm on the extreme side of this, but there are a lot of people who think that Danny and this organization are afraid to make trades that could potentially damage the culture of this team, that could potentially damage how good of friends everyone are in the room and everything. I don't know if I love the return here, but I think that this shows he's not afraid to do it. Now, this isn't Scott Laughton. It's not Sean Couturier. It's not Travis Konechny.
Yeah.
It's not one of your actual guys who wear a letter.
Right.
But in terms of like the social aspect of this team, especially considering all the dudes I just named are like, older family people.
No, Farabee seemed to be the social
Farabee
director
is
of the young.
Like he was a major part of kind of integrating Owen Tippett because everyone said he's more of a not your typical hockey personality. He's more of a quiet guy. Yeah. The read I got from it was like a little Dougie Hamilton, like maybe not going to museums, Dougie Hamilton, but just like different than the stereotype. And a big part of Jamie Drysdale. We remember last year the trip at the All-Star break. Jamie's like, I don't have a bed. I don't know. He's like, who cares? They'll take care of that. You're coming with us to where'd they go? Cancun or whatever it was. Yeah. This is interesting that it will be Joel Farabee. Like Morgan Frost, listen, he was due a contract extension. He's clearly not part of the future.
It's not so. I don't care that we're getting rid of Morgan Frost. It's just that we don't
have anyone
centers
to play these positions. Like, who's it going to be? Massimo Rizzo? Like,
has Rodrigo up here forever?
They don't have. There just has to be. I realize they're saying it's a 2-team deal. There just has to be more coming. Is all I can think.
Report from the PHLY Discord, courtesy of friend of the pod, Brad Keffer. The Flames broadcast is saying that they believe the Flames would have to add a lot more, called Kuzmenko and Peltier throw-ins.
Interesting.
We get Nazem?
Like, that would be hilarious.
It would be so Flyers to get Kadri right now.
If we get Naz Kadri 8 years later, that would be so freaking funny. But no, it has to be prospects or picks, right?
You would think.
And then we're taking those 2 guys to match salaries. That's what it has to be. Like, again, Calgary doesn't need to match salaries, but the Flyers also need players. Like, you just took 2 regulars out of the lineup.
It's getting.
Are people just going nuts in the Discord? Like Eric Francis
is speculating, all caps, that Rasmus Ristolainen might be part of the deal. What is happening?
My initial thought when we saw this, Bill. Do reads. Okay, yeah, I was actually.
I need my emotional
I was just about
Charlie.
to, and is Charlie coming?
I'm gonna stop reading tweets.
All right, let's talk about Shady Rays.
Hey, it's getting bright in here.
It's so bright in here. The trade sun is exploding, and to protect your vision, you need the absolute best polarized sunglasses, and you can get them at Shady Rays. Listen, we know it's always sunny in Philly. We're going to need to be looking good out for that parade in a couple of weeks. Why not head over to Shady Rays, check out all of their awesome selection, durable frames, something on my mind, durable frames and crystal clear optics. They're the perfect choice for all outdoor adventures. And for skiers and snowboarders, Shady Rays is a brand new collection of snow goggles to help you see clearly and look good on the slopes. You know I love my Shady Rays. I am a big fan. I wear my Shady Rays every day. And PHLY viewers and listeners, you can go do the same right now. Just go to shadyrays.com and save 35% off polarized sunglasses with code PHLY. Over 300,000 people have rated Shady Rays 5 stars, so you can use code PHLY today at shadyrays.com and see what I'm talking about. They're dope. And Bet365, well, they got us again. Bet365 got us. Nick Seeler, last I checked, he wasn't credited with any blocked shots. I had him over 2.5, 1 block for Nick Seeler. So we lose again to our friends at Bet365, but it's all good because I've been enjoying placing all of my action with Bet365 this season, whether it's my player props, side, totals, futures, whatever it is. I do it at Bet365. I think you should too. And we have breaking news from Bet365. Yeah. New customers now get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose. Just sign up, use code PHLY365, deposit $10, place a bet for $5 to get $150 in bonus bets. If your bet wins or loses, bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in PA. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right. Now we have Philadelphia's #1 hockey beat writer, Charlie O'Connor. So, Charlie, Ivan Fedotov, what did you think of his game tonight? I thought he really... just give me whatever the hell they talked about post-game, and then we'll go from there.
It is truly very funny that this is the kind of news that can bury the fact that Matvei Michkov was benched for the entire second half of a game.
We opened with that.
Oh, we talked about that for 20 minutes.
Oh, of course you did. Well, this is significantly more important. That what I will say about the Michkov stuff before we obviously get into this this looming trade. John Tortorella, obviously I'm not going to have time to transcribe all of his quotes from the post-game presser, but he actually came off as like fairly conciliatory, and I don't even want to use the word kind, but it wasn't anger that was coming from him when he was talking about Michkov, because obviously he's asked about Michkov right off the bat. First, I think 3 questions were about that, and he basically said that they're doing this because they think he can be a special player, and they want to make sure that he has the kind of accountability that they want, that they believe he's going to need to be the best player he can be. And basically what he more or less implied, he said he wasn't going to get into the details of the confrontation on the bench, but it seems like that was the reason. And what he more or less implied was that, look, we're gonna go back and forth on the bench. I'm going to go back and forth on the bench with players, but the player has to acknowledge that he's done something wrong. And the implication was more or less that Michkov did not acknowledge that he messed up on the play. He pushed back on Torts, and Torts basically said, okay, you're sitting. That
ego thing again.
That seems like it's what it was. And Tortorella positioned it very much as we're doing this for for his benefit over the long term. It's because we believe he's going to be such a special player that we want to break these habits now, more or less. So that was the justification. You can like it or you can dislike it, but that was the way he positioned it
Joker
in postgame. Obviously, I get the sense that Kelly is not satisfied with that even a little bit.
No,
neither of us really
but
are.
Somehow makes it worse.
I'm all for accountability. I also, if you're going to tell me that these games actually matter and then like they get a 4-on-4 and a power play late and he's not out there, I'm going to call bullshit. We're doing one thing or the other. Doing both isn't helping anyone. But this is a conversation for another day.
Given the fact that they just traded 2 roster players, I'm not quite sure that they are doing one thing or the other, Bill.
That's where I'm going with this next. It looks as if we're seeing Joel Farabee and Morgan Frost headed to Calgary. We believe that it's Andrei Kuzmenko and Jacob Peltier coming back. We're getting reports from people who are like watching the Calgary broadcast, and their broadcasters are like, they have to just be throw-ins on top of like something else. Charlie, tell us if you know anything. What the hell? What's going on right now? Because we're just kind of operating blind.
Well, I don't know what the return is. Obviously, Kuzmenko, that's a guarantee. Peltier, also a guarantee. I knew one even before it was like right before Friedman reported that Farabee was part of it. Since then, it's been reported that Frost is a part of it as well, which makes sense, obviously. Tortorella did say after the game, he claimed that Frost just wasn't feeling well. It seems like it may have been both. He legitimately may be a little bit under the weather, and he's involved in this trade because they didn't pull Farabee. You know what I mean? And if they were pulling everybody, they would have pulled Farabee too, and they didn't. So
you're out of guys.
Yeah, you can't blame Michkov because he didn't say sorry fast enough.
Well,
Go ahead.
I don't know. The Flyers did, a couple years ago under the same coach, go with 5 defensemen in a game because he was mad at a guy who was on the ice in this game. So I really don't think Tortorella would have had a problem going 9 forwards if that's what he was told to do, if they were pulling everybody. So I don't necessarily think that was a lie. That said, Farabee and Frost looks like they're both on their way to Calgary. During the game, I had heard some rumblings from sources that it could be a 3-team deal. It doesn't look like that. It looks like it's a 2-team deal at this point. My main question at this point is, what is the return? Because if you're trading Farabee and Frost, you can't just be getting back Kuzmenko, who in a lot of ways is more of a salary dump more than anything else. He's an expiring contract. He hasn't quite worked out in Calgary. And then Peltier, who I'll be honest with you, I haven't followed his career since he was drafted, but I did like him in his draft year. I believe it was 2019. I liked him as a mid to late first round pick type. He's a smallish winger, but he's got skill, so that's intriguing. But that's not the centerpiece of a package where you're giving up 2 established NHL players. So I'd have to believe that there's more coming back. If there's not, it's a terrible trade, and not because Joel Farabee and Morgan Frost are superstars, but because presumably they're valuable enough NHL players. They've proven to be solid at least, and you would think you would get more back than a salary dump and a B to B minus young player prospect. So I'd have to think there's more coming back, but I don't know what it is yet. I haven't heard anything yet.
Just so people have an idea, I don't know if this is what's involved or not, but Calgary does have 2 firsts this year. They traded away their own, but they have the Devils and the Panthers. They also have 2 seconds this year, Colorado's and their own. And next year, they have Vegas's first and their own. So they do have quite a bit of high-end stuff. They also have a second next year, 2 thirds. So they do have some higher end assets in terms of that. I have no idea what their prospect pool looks like. Maybe there's something like that involved. But Charlie, my biggest takeaway once we started realizing Joel Farabee was involved is the criticism of Danny Briere that he's afraid to move on from culture guys. If nothing else, this shows that he's not.
At the very least, it shows he will make trades, which was the mantra we were hearing on social media for the last few weeks. Really, the last week especially is when it really kicked into high gear. Now, I don't think that was the driving force behind why Danny Briere made a trade. I don't think he was bullied by social media into trading people.
I really hope not.
But let's be honest. These were the 2 guys. I had them in my article I did a few weeks ago, saying that I wouldn't necessarily make a move now, but I definitely would make a bigger move in the offseason. These were the 2 most obvious guys. Morgan Frost, because look, we've beaten that horse to death on the show so many times about the fact that the long-term fit just doesn't seem to be there. Honestly, the guy I am happy for, and I know he'll be bummed in the here and now. I'm happy for Morgan Frost, truthfully, because I know he loved Philadelphia, and I'm sure he bummed out right now, but I just don't think it was ever going to work between him and John Tortorella. I really don't. I don't know what he ultimately can be elsewhere, but I do think his life will be a lot less stressful playing under a coach that isn't John Tortorella, because Torts he ran him hard. And I think it got to the point definitely at certain points, maybe not all the time, but you have to believe that he got in his own head at times, trying to figure out what he had to do to win over this coach. And quite frankly, I don't think there was anything he really could have done to win over this coach over the long term. Joel Farabee's more interesting to me because, I'm happy for Morgan Frost. I feel bad for Joel Farabee because I do think Joel Farabee wanted to be here. He was turning himself into a locker room guy, a leader in that room. Over the last 2 years especially, he was really stepping up. But the fact of the matter is the production had fallen off a cliff. And I did wonder, and I spoke with you, I don't remember if it was on air or off air, but during that long stretch in December, when he wasn't scoring and they had him on the top line for a month, I said to you, this screams that they're showcasing it, because and the fact that John Tortorella, and this is a guy in Farabee who he hasn't always loved, he's going up there every day and being like, I think he's playing great. Yeah, he's not scoring, but he's playing awesome. Like, that just struck me as very non-Torts-ish, and it didn't fit with the usual MO. And I wondered if maybe there was a showcasing being done, and whether there was or there wasn't, he's now going to be playing for another team. So clearly they were open to moving him. Look, these were the two guys, again, Farabee, because of his struggles really since, I guess I would say February of last season. So coming up on a full calendar year now, I guess, if you want to call it that, since we're at the end of January. And then Frost, just because of the obvious fit issues, like, these were the two guys. If you were going to ship guys out, these were going to be the ones. So I think that's kind of my initial thoughts. It's a little stream of consciousness, a little rambly, but that's sort of my initial thoughts.
Looking at the standings right now, Calgary's playing by points percentage. They have the second wild card spot by 0.001 over Vancouver. So listen, these guys, I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do in a different spot. Not to like, oh, look, they blossomed outside of Philly, but just seeing if there is something else there that either another team was able to bring out of them or a change of scenery is good. So I'm definitely happy for them getting something else. And I'm happy for the Flyers just making a change, because what I've seen the last few nights, like, this ain't going to do it. Charlie, what can you tell us about Andrei Kuzmenko?
Yeah, Kuzmenko is interesting. He was a guy, and again, like, I'm not an expert on Andrei Kuzmenko. I've watched him from afar. He had a great first year in Vancouver. Then, if I remember correctly from last year, he clashed with Rick Tocchet, who did not love his inconsistencies, things like that. He's a little mercurial. Got traded to Calgary, had a real good start with Calgary. I think he finished with 25 points in 29 games after the trade. And then this year, it's kind of been a repeat, where out of the lineup, not necessarily on the coach's good side, things like that. The talent's there. That said, he's older. We're talking about a guy who's 28, I believe. So it's not like he's a piece that you trade for thinking like, oh man, he could be part of the future. Maybe he could be part of the short-term future for a few years, but this isn't a guy in his his early to mid-20s by any means. To me, I have to believe that this is more of a salary dump of something to that end. I can't imagine the Flyers were, well, we have to get Andrei Kuzmenko. They took him. He also doesn't seem like a logical fit with John Tortorella, given the fact that he already struggled to fit under Rick Tocchet. It doesn't seem to be the most logical fit from a coach-player standpoint, which tells me even more that probably more of a added into the trade rather than the piece they're going for. But he's an NHL caliber player. Flyers need more offensive skill. He certainly does bring raw offensive skill, and he's a Russian, so could be another friend for Matvei Michkov.
That was kind of my take. Like, if you're gonna take on a dude at that number and it's a salary dump, listen, they played together. They had 13 games at SKA in what I believe was Kuzmenko's last year in the KHL, and it was Matvei Michkov's like first year really being like up in the K. So they know each other a little bit. They've played some together. It's another Russian guy for the budding superstar to speak to, so that's cool. Like, he can actually talk to this guy. It could be worse. I'm just looking forward to seeing the details of this thing. Is there anything we haven't covered yet?
I guess I'm actually curious. I know I'm going to be asking you guys questions. I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are.
I am confused, mostly because I don't know what problem this solves for the Flyers. That's my only thought process. Some people now are tweeting that there's also 2 picks coming back from the Flames.
I assumed there were going to be additional.
Yeah.
The idea that it was going to be a 2-for-2 deal,
2 for 2, yeah.
that would have been a terrible deal for the Flyers.
Yes.
There needs to be more involved in this. I just don't know what specifically it is. A draft pick could be a 3rd-round pick. It could be a 5th-round pick. It could be a 1st-round pick.
Sure, yeah. It could be anything.
If it's a 1st-round pick, I feel significantly better about the return here.
Yeah, I trading a center for not a center is a curious move to me because we have so few of them. I don't know. I was saying to Bill earlier before you came on, I'm going to try to reserve judgment until the trade deadline because it's very likely that this could just be the start of, a bunch of things that maybe Briere is trying to do. I don't know, like in a vacuum though, I'm just looking at this and I'm just like, okay, but why? Like, what for?
What about you, Bill? Because you were much more in favor of trading Frost, getting him out of here.
I really like that. One, my evaluation is right. These two guys don't factor into the future. Like I've seen enough, and so too has the organization. Like at a certain point, the evaluation period of this has to end, and we start making tough decisions on guys we might even like. Danny Briere likes Morgan Frost. I like Joel Farabee. He just hasn't been getting it done, like you said, for a calendar year. Also, they're doing stuff. Doing stuff is good. It is good for our business, and it is good to see that Danny isn't afraid to pull the trigger on something like this, where it's not, oh yeah, man, like you sell Sean Walker because that's what you do. Like that's an obvious freaking thing. This is different. This is one guy who's got term on his deal and another guy who's still under team control as an RFA. But you've made your evaluation and you're going to move forward. Now, I need to see what the rest of this is because, like, yeah, okay, they got a Russian and he seems like he's got a little upside, but he also turns 29 in like 5 days. And Jacob Peltier, who we're hearing from Calgary people, is like a fun guy to watch, but maybe, I don't know, Garnett Hathaway? I don't know. He's got a few points. He's not bad.
And he's small, which is interesting to me because they already have a lot of small guys on the wing. Obviously Bobby Brink, obviously Michkov, Konechny isn't the biggest. If anything, I thought the Flyers wanted to get bigger up front, not get smaller. But I do think highly of Peltier. I liked him in his draft year. I just haven't followed him since then, so I don't want to act like I'm a Jacob Peltier expert.
And I like the idea that if nothing else, like, I don't know, if they even, like, maybe they just tell Kuzmenko, like, kick rocks, man. We're trading you somewhere else, so we're going to waive you. Like, he did waive his no trade to come here, I saw. But whatever it is, I also want spots opened up, and I want to see Samu Tuamala. I want to see freaking Zayd Wisdom. He's been playing. Like, I just want to. I don't care who it is. I want to see guys and not just 29-year-old Rodrigo Bulls. And this gives you a better opportunity to do that. Whatever you think of Frost and Farabee, they can't come out of the lineup for long periods of time. They're established NHL players. It looks asinine to everybody in the locker room. This gives them a little bit more of an opportunity to see kids, like we did with 25-year-old Adam Ginning tonight. But regardless, I am pending what the rest of it is. I'm in favor of it because we're going to see something different, and they're acknowledging that the course they were on, like there needed to be a next step. And maybe that's what we're seeing the beginning of.
Yeah, what I will say is that the one thing, and again, like this is all dependent upon what the picks are and what the ultimate trade package is. But I do think that if you're trading Morgan Frost and not getting a center back, you probably need to start looking in. Maybe not this season, because by doing this, you're probably putting yourself in position where, you are weakening your team now. And you know what? Fine, whatever.
Good.
But at some point this summer, you need to get another center just to have more depth up there.
And I also appreciate Danny Briere. Like we talked about when this string of games against basically nothing but Metro teams started, like this is going to determine whether you're actually in it or if you're just in it because the East isn't very good. And from what I saw, especially in the latter half of this little string of games, like they aren't actually in it. They haven't scored a goal against a goalie in like 160 minutes. That's not a team that's serious about contending for a playoff spot. And I like that they acknowledged, hey, maybe we would have done something for you if you had shown us something in this string of games. But they've been a 500 mediocre team, and this is what happens to those teams.
I have a small update.
Okay.
Chris Johnston from Sportsnet 590 says the Flames are trading a first-round pick along with prospect Hunter Brustowitz.
Oh, he's the high-scoring defenseman? They got him. They got him from. If it's who I'm thinking of, they got him from Vancouver last year.
Okay, so allegedly a first, and then this Hunter kid as well.
Well, then that's a hell of a deal. I don't know anything about him, but
Charlie, are you sure though? Because I'm looking at Chris Johnston's main page and it's not on there. Are you sure you didn't get fooled
One
by
of the
a?
no, one of the Canadians in the BSH Slack, I think, is listening to it.
Okay. Okay. Well, look, if the Flyers got a first round pick back in this deal, I feel a lot better about it, to be sure. If that defenseman, I believe it's a defenseman, if I'm thinking of the same person, he's like a high scoring, smallish defenseman that used to be a Vancouver prospect.
All right, Charlie. Do you have anything else for us? Do you even want to care about 3 stars? What did you think about Michkov? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably not even going to write on this game because I'm going to be focused on the trades.
Yeah.
At some point,
anyway.
At some point, I will address the Michkov stuff. I think my general view is that I get the frustration. I do. I just think in the grand scheme of things, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. I really don't. I think that, Michkov, while he clearly was frustrated with Tortorella, he clearly yelled back, or yelled first. I don't know. I don't know what the exact order was. It's not something that I'm going to lose too much sleep over in the sense of, I think that it's going to ruin Michkov. I don't think anything like that. You can agree with it. You can disagree with it. I just think that this is probably going to be a footnote in his overall career. So it was weird. And, I would ideally rather him be playing. But to me, I don't think it's going to hurt him, I guess is the best way I can put it.
All right, Charlie, I will talk to you at some point in the near future. There's a really good chance I'm doing a solo reaction to this a little later, but I'm going to let you go and we're going to wrap up the show. Chuck, whatever you learn, pass it along because I'm going to need the info. All right, take it easy,
Charlie.
my friend.
All right. Bye, gang.
All right, if this Hunter Bristowitz is part of this thing, he was a 3rd-round pick in 2023. By the Vancouver Canucks. He's now with the Flames organization. Last season with Kitchener, the old Rangers in the OHL, 92 points in 67 games. This year in 42 AHL games, 3 goals, 12 assists. He's 6 foot, 194, so not imposing, but not small, I would say.
Maybe like a medium-sized Drysdale.
Now with the possibility of a first-round pick in there, I like this trade a lot. We'll see what the actual details are. Again, I'll have a reaction for you when we actually know something.
There's just so many tweets and things with people being
impossible
like,
to keep up.
Yeah,
Thank you for bearing with us as we do this show kind of blind. But let's hit those super chats.
Oh,
all right, we got a whole bunch of them, so let's try to get through them here. Start it with our pal JH. JH says, what the F is Torts doing? You don't get to say Michkov is a rookie going to make mistakes and you're not messing with him in the ozone, only to bench him for 2.5 periods when he makes an ozone mistake. And maybe it's just more of a physical mistake, but I see Jamie Drysdale move up on a puck, be hesitant, and then Kyle freaking Palmieri, 34 years old, blow by him like he's Connor McDavid to score his first goal in 15 games. And I don't know, you want everyone to have the same kind of accountability, but I don't see that actually. If we bench someone every time they effed up, I don't know, the Flyers are pretty bad. We wouldn't be able to field a team most games.
My problem with it is that it feels like an ego thing. Michkov has an ego, and Torts has to be the biggest guy in the room. So, Jamie Drysdale isn't going to challenge John Tortorella. So he doesn't need to punish Jamie Drysdale for having too big an ego. Michkov, in Torts' mind, needs to be knocked down a few pegs.
And
that is
there's
nonsense.
An element of this, we know how competitive he is. We also, we can see what happened. We all saw it. Especially when they showed the replay. I thought when they showed the replay of the bench exchange, Mish is pointing with his stick to be this is what I saw.
Yeah.
And maybe he speaks more than lets on. There is a bit of a language issue.
Right.
There is, I don't know. I just find it kind of stupid.
It's annoying is what it is.
That's exactly what it is. All right, from Hat Trick Patrick. Let's see. I can't imagine our forwards are very motivated to push hard for goals when our divisional rivals keep injuring them with questionable at best hits. I didn't see too much tonight that I had a problem with.
Tonight was with whatever.
It's hockey. It's a contact sport. If you're afraid to get hit, you really need to find something else to do. All right, from Timbo Slice. Why not us? Well, it sure does feel like year 2 of a rebuild. Was at the game with my brother, who's a Devils fan, and was telling him this game really does show what not having high-end talent looks like. Yeah, and I think there might be something wrong with TK. Owen Tippett, wouldn't call him high-end, but he's pretty good. He's already out. And Matvei Michkov didn't play the final 30 minutes of the game. So, where were they going to get a goal?
Yeah.
I don't know. All right, another one here from Timbo. Also, that goalie interference was the softest call I've ever seen.
Terrible.
I guess we have just established the precedent of if you're in the crease and anything happens, it's no goal. But I thought goalies were hockey players, man. Anyway, before we wrap up, I just want to say we appreciate those of you watching on TV. Head over to allphly.com for more of the show. All right, this one here from Hattrick Patrick again. Hypothetically, Matvei Michkov is exhausted. Team not playing well. The high is behind him. He wants a break. But if he's scratched right now, fans flip their S. What is it that makes this scenario less likely? I do think there's a part of him being exhausted that is well, we're going to keep him in the lineup because we are trying to sell tickets. We just raised season ticket prices.
Yes,
we are going to keep him in the lineup. But when he doesn't have it, we're going to limit his minutes. And I am fine with that part. It's this other part of... But also
30 minutes.
We're not going to play him in the entire second half of the game, including on a power play with a chance to at least get back in it. I can't agree with that part.
No.
All right, one from B. West here. I wonder if it's the actual Brian Westbrook.
It is.
They should have scratched Torts for his 1600th game. That would be very funny. He likes doing that in people's hometowns and everything.
Yeah.
It would be. I do wonder, do you get credit? Because you get the wins, so it must be. Because when he was suspended, and it's Shaw or Rocky, who's technically the head coach, but the win goes on Tortorella's ledger.
Does it?
Yeah. So even if
cheating.
they say you're up in the booth tonight or whatever, he still gets. He's still the coach, I suppose.
I guess. Yeah.
He's been the head coach of the team for that many games, whether he's behind the bench or not. All right. From Rob Bleeder, BS goalie interference call. Refs are trash. It sucks. It sucks that this is the way the rule is. Mike Knuble never scored a goal in his career. If this is how we if this is how we call it, those 50-goal John LeClaire seasons, actually they were 30-goal seasons. I don't know. Goalies should have to battle a tiny bit. If there's a glancing brush of contact that doesn't. To me, interference means you actually have to interfere.
Yes.
There needs to be an impediment. And I didn't see that a little bit.
No, he was just heavily screened by Morgan Frost's entire body.
Even if there was a little contact, it didn't stop him. It's not the reason he didn't make the save. And to me, that should be there should be interference to get called for interference.
Exactly.
That's all. All right. From Will Wadsworth says, I sure hope this means Tony Dick is here to stay. We all do, Will. We all do. Anthony Richard, fan favorite. We all love us some Tony Dick.
Love him.
From Vince Pellegrini, who would you want to see come up and play if spots are opened? It's a great question. Samu Tuamala, I definitely want to see him. He broke a really long goal streak with a couple of goals. May have actually ended up with a hat trick the other night. I know he had a couple for the Phantoms after a month-long goalless drought. Zayd Wisdom's been playing real well. I would love to see him. There's some defensemen I want to see. There was a little bit of a rumor maybe Emil Andre is going to come up for the road trip. That would be cool. But I would, if it's a rotation, everyone gets 2 games, I wouldn't even have a problem with that. There's a lot of guys with the Phantoms, but we need to get Matty Campbell on soon. That's what it comes down to. We need some Phantoms. We need some Phantom stuff here. All right. And finally from Rory, Shane Wright is next. Magic 8 Ball. Cool. I hope so. That would be dope, Rory.
Is he even good?
I don't know. Maybe we can make him good. Yeah, that's Torts' thing.
Yeah.
Maybe we can make him good.
That happens all
It's
the time.
about time that it goes the other way for us.
I was going to say, that's not how it
we
works
always
for us.
trade guys and then they become good. Maybe we're due for a little bit of that luck, Hinkle. All right. Well, that is all the time we have for you on the PHLY Flyers postgame presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Make sure you keep your eye on this YouTube page
We'll be back.
because I'm going to be back at some point whenever this thing's official. If it happens at 2 a.m., I'll be on at 2 a.m. We'll do it. Maybe if it's not live, it'll get uploaded at some point in the morning, but we're going to have an instant reaction at some point. Oh, wow. As soon as we're wrapping up. So
Yeah, Sarah Volley's tweeting.
we might have to just record it as soon as we're done this.
I mean, do you want to?
You want to just do it right now?
Fucking,
All right.
We're all sitting
All
here.
right. So Sarah Volley is saying to Flames, Farabee and Frost. We know that part. To the Flyers, Jacob Peltier. It says Andrei Kuzmenko, a 2nd-round pick and a 7th-round pick.
Round pick.
He says that's 3 first-round picks and sizable chunk of money changing hands.
The players that were picked. In
The players were actually picked in the first round.
Right,
Okay,
right.
I get what I was like, wait, no, that doesn't make sense. All right, well, if that's the deal, it's a little disappointing. No firsts.
A 7th round pick is disrespectful. That's like leaving change for a tip.
It's just that,
Like, what am I doing with a 7th round pick?
They have like the sheet of value, and it's like, hey man, we're 8 points short here to make this green for us, and it's like, here's a 7th. But if that's the deal, we will see. He says still awaiting completion of the deal, but shapes up to be from Frank Saravalli. It's what I just read. So if we have more information, we will get that to you at some point. Also, make sure you check out allphly.com for Charlie's article that he'll be getting out in the near future. All right, follow us on Twitter at PHLY_Flyers. All my in-game tweetings there. We pin our schedule at the top anytime we go live, any of it. So make sure you're following us there. And follow the podcast as well. Just search PHLY Flyers wherever you get your podcasts. All right. I am Bill Matz. That is Kelly Hinkle. Until whenever, let's go Flyers.
We all silly like the mayor.